everybody, it's Safi and Marco, Dish Out on the Movies. Today we're just doing a ranking of all the Slappyworld books, and that's it. So it will be going from worst to best, and we're not doing like top 10 or below 10 or mid 10. We're just doing all of them because there's 15 or so books.
No, there's 20. I don't know why you're getting 15.
Sorry about that. And so that's why we, so anyway, that's what we're going to do. And my general comment about the books are they're mostly not so good and not so memorable. And that's about it. And I would not reread any of them. And I know Marco may disagree with me there, but that's just my opinion. Okay, so my last...
I would say that the Slappyworld series overall is an epic failure because there was an opportunity here to do something cool where you could have had Slappy be connected to these monsters. You could have had an actual reason for him narrating these stories, but instead it was basically just a gimmick. It was a cheap gimmick so that they could get kids to read these shitty books and say, look, it's Slappyworld. And Slappy's gonna be in the book narrating as a flamboyant gay version of Slappy, where he's like, I love myself. I want to stare at myself in the mirror. I want to give myself kisses in the mirror. You know, like that's apparently what some people wanted. And yeah, it's a huge failure. They could have done something good with it though. Like I'm not completely opposed to the idea of Slappyworld, but I think that the way that the concept was executed was a big mistake.
Okay, well I just screwed up my thing.
Yeah, it figures.
Oh wait, maybe this is it.
Yeah, let's just spend another 1,000 years waiting for it.
Well, okay. Well, my last place one is one we just read, actually, and that's Judy and the Beast. And I said that I'd love the reader. The reader was the best reader I've ever heard. And I've read a lot of different books, mostly adult, of course. But the problem with the book, the reason why I just had put in last place, was the fact that they contradicted themselves. And it was a very obvious story contradiction at the end. And I just think that's inexcusable. I don't like that.
Are you done?
Yeah, I just...
Okay. You didn't say you were done. You just kind of meandered about and made weird noises.
Okay, Marco.
My number 20 is Haunting with the Stars. This is one of the worst books I've ever read. I think that the cover is really cool, but the cover is kind of like false advertising because when you look at the cover, it almost looks like a twin Slappy, like a Slappy conjoined twin situation. And the actual story, though, is really, really disappointing and childish and goofy and dumb. It's all about going to this alien planet where the aliens like to dance all over the place. It's really dumb. I hate it. It was so bad. It was a miserable book. Hated it. Safi?
Okay, my next worst book is Attack the Jack.
Ugh.
And it's about these two kids, of course. It's almost always about a brother and a sister. And they come stay with one of their relatives. And it was about Jack-in-the-Boxes coming to life as characters. And then what they have to do, and it's just ridiculous. It's the stupidest, most ridiculous story I've ever heard. And the only thing I liked about it was that there was a lighthouse in it. Well, that's not enough to sell a story.
Yeah.
So it's like, it probably would be in last place if it wasn't for this Judy and the Beast and the contradictive contradictory ending.
My number 19 is also Attack of the Jack.
Yeah.
I really, really despise this book because, number one, it's basically like more false advertising because this Jack character is hardly in the book at all. He's in the book for like 5 minutes, like at the beginning and the end. Most of the book is about these kids somehow like going on a pirate ship with a monkey Jack in the Box that can drive the ship and go on this like quest to get something, and then when they get it, the pirate says, F you anyway, and it was a really, really stupid story. And this one was especially disappointing to me because they really wasted the setting. I really like this setting and this kind of culture and, pirates and stuff, and they really wasted that. Like, I would have loved to have seen the good version of this book in like the alternate universe, right?
Right. Oh yeah, that's one of my favorite type of stories with lighthouses and ships and.
Well, then why didn't you suggest doing a pirate movie theme?
I don't know. It's just when they turned
reviewing.
everything into a Jack in the Box. And
For reviewing. I mean, like, the next theme you picked is comedy. Instead of comedy, you could have picked like pirate movies.
I don't know.
Or something like that. I don't know.
Okay, my next one is Monster Blood is Back.
Number 18, you mean?
Yes, and that's also an F, of course.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was goofy how they underestimated what was going to happen, and it's just another. I haven't read the other Monster Blood books. I've just seen the TV shows. So, if you're comparing just the written word, I can't compare because I haven't read the other books. But Marco seems to think it's not a good thing.
What?
And the Monster Blood, the story isn't very relatable.
What do you mean?
The other ones. Well, it just didn't work.
Well, I think that it could have worked because I kind of like the concept. I won't get to it yet because it's not next on my list. But, it does not work in the series. Like, the first 4 Monster Bloods, even though I hate the third one, I could read any of those books. They're very fun, enjoyable. I'll never read this one again, though.
The next one is...
No, why am I not going?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Let's try to be more
Marco.
organized and
Marco,
so that it goes by faster and, you just have to keep, like, correcting your mistakes all the time.
Okay, Marco.
My number 17... Wait. My number... Wait, 2019... 18. My number 18 is Judy and the Beast. Nah. This was a book where I completely zoned out of the whole book, basically. Just like with Attack of the Jack. There's nothing about Beauty and the Beast or anything. It's kind of a waste of time calling it Judy and the Beast. It was a stupid title. It's a stupid book. There's a lot of just repetition in the book. It doesn't even feel like it's written by R.L. Stine. And the ending is so bad that it factually is a mess, and it completely contradicts the book. Like, the ending is just like a complete, like, I don't know how that ending was approved at all. So
I wondered that myself by anybody, and
yeah,
it's just not the writer. You have somebody proofreading their stuff. Then you take it to the publisher, and of course they go through it. Do they not go through their books? I mean, it's just unbelievable. Okay, well, my number 17 is Night of the Squawker, which, I could have switched this with number 16, which is something else. So, it's just a stupid story. With the bird, to the girl turning into a bird, and it's just because it bit her, or touched her, or
I thought it was
gave her the turn into bird disease.
I thought it was in the family.
I don't know.
I can't remember
I
that.
can't even remember. That's what I say. It's a forgettable book.
Well,
It's a terrible book.
most of these books are forgettable, though.
And I'm sorry, but it's not so good. And the title is kind of queer anyway, too.
Yeah.
So, go ahead, Marco.
Now, my number 17 is Diary of a Dummy, or as I like to call Diarrhea of a Dummy, because this book, it completely misrepresents dumpster diving, and it shows that R.L. Stine, he's writing these stories about things and places that he really doesn't do any research on or do any sort of because he makes dumpster diving look terrible. And the story is just completely bizarre of these kids trying to find gold, and Slappy wrote about gold in his diary. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And then when they finally find out what gold is, it's actually a female dummy. And see, I knew what they were doing there. They were trying to, put a little agenda here where it's like, oh, now we can have the female dummy take over. But, nobody really cared about this shitty book or this shitty gold doll. Mary Ellen was a great character. I liked her character. I really hated this Goldie, whatever the F she was. And so this book, it was so bad. It was terrible. I hated it. Safi?
Okay, well, my number 16 is Haunting with the Stars. And like I said, I could have interchanged this with Night of the Squawker. But I was kind of disappointed because I thought this had something to do with Dancing with the Stars. And it's nothing like it.
Yeah, it's another misleading title because he comes up with the titles before the stories.
And then what happens just isn't... It's unrealistic and ridiculous, and I just don't like it. I was really angry, actually, after I read it, because I just thought the title was ridiculous. The story was just the way they pretend like parents are never going to know about their children, and they don't want to know about their children. I mean, unless they're zombies or something and they don't know anything, why wouldn't they want to know where their children are or care about them? Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. So what's your 16?
My number 16 is The Ghost of Slappy, because this book actually starts off pretty good. They're going to a summer camp, and Slappy is at the camp, and I thought, wow, Slappy at summer camp? That sounds like the greatest Slappy story ever. Oh no, can't do that. Because then halfway through the book they go home, and the whole reason for Slappy being there was stupid to begin with. Their teacher was so shitty, he brought Slappy on the camping trip.
Oh yeah.
As if that would be a good decision. And then when they get home, the kids somehow kill Slappy at the graveyard. And then somehow Slappy has a ghost. That doesn't make any sense at all, except if you go by the stupid canon of where he's the spirit of some guy inside the doll. But even then, when there's a spirit that's possessing the doll, that doesn't mean that when you kill the doll that the spirit comes out and it's a ghost. A ghost is just... See, R.L. Stine, he doesn't know what he's doing anymore.
Well, it's like he changes his mind.
Yeah.
All the time. He doesn't know which way is it going to be this day and which way is it going to be the next day.
Yeah, and then the whole ending for the book was stupid, where there's this female ghost in the house, and because the kid was so scared of this ghost, he never talked to her. She decides to help out Slappy, fuck up this kid, and I really hated that ending.
Yeah.
I thought, what a horrible ghost, because it was also stupid in the way that she said, I have to do a good thing to get into heaven or something. The good thing was by fucking up this kid's life.
Which that doesn't make any sense at all.
No, it doesn't. If you do a good thing for a bad guy, that doesn't make it a good thing. Unless it's I don't know, giving them medical attention or something like that, you know. But if you help a serial killer kill someone, that's not a good deed. And that's literally what this bitch did. She tore up the Slappy name card so the kid could never put Slappy to sleep. And I thought, what a piece of shit. And you defended her, too. You said that, like, oh, it was bad because he never learned her name. You know, like, it's like, he's a kid. He's scared of this ghost. Like, what the hell?
Well,
Safi?
I think he would have gotten used to the ghost after so many times.
I don't think so.
Okay, well, let's see, 2019, 18, 17.
15.
15. No, it's 15. That was 16. 15 is the same for me, the ghost of Slappy. So I'm not going to say too much about it. I just, I didn't like that either. And it was a very negative ending, and I didn't like that.
Yeah.
I really get tired of that. So, what's your 15?
My number 15 is They Call Me the Night Howler. I thought this is probably one of the stupidest books I've ever read. I really don't like superhero books and stuff like this. And just when you read the book, all you can do is sit there and think about how, you know, that other Goosebumps book, Attack of the Mutant, that's a lot better than this. You know, that's like a much better superhero story. Like, I'd rather read that than this crap. The whole concept is retarded of, like, this superhero. He allows a kid to take up the mantle for him. And then remember, that had the shitty ending, too, where he's like, okay, now that I've been the hero, I'd like to try out being the villain. And it's like, oh, wow, that doesn't make any sense at all. Like, ugh. I'd never read this book again. I hated it. Safi?
Okay.
14?
My number 14, it's weird because the cover reminds me of the Jetsons, the maid on the Jetsons. If you recall, it's like a robot.
That's
woman.
what someone in the comments said on that video, on that review we did.
It really does, except it's scary and a lot bigger. And I can't remember the name of the character on the Jetsons cartoon, but this is what it looks like if you're familiar with it.
Minute Maid?
No, it was a maid, and she had a maid outfit on. She was a robot. But so these boys, I think, or kids build a female robot, and it comes alive, and
she doesn't have any boobs.
And she is very dangerous. She crushes people's hands or bites them or something. I just remember it was very negative and vicious and violent. And it was not, I didn't think it was so good. So that's my number 14, I believe.
My number 14 is Monster Blood is Back.
Oh.
This is definitely the worst Monster Blood that I've read so far. And part of the problem is that the Monster Blood is hardly in the book. And then at the very end, they screw the whole thing up by making everything a dream. And that really pissed me off. I was almost going to put this book in last place because I really hate when they do that. I really like the concept for this book, too, of, like, Monster Blood on a cooking show. Because it makes me think of, like, Gremlins 2, where the Gremlins are going to all the different TV shows and, you know, interrupting them and everything. And I thought, you know, this could have been a fun book. But another thing, too, is, like, it just doesn't feel like a Monster Blood book even. Like, it feels like this could have been anything. It doesn't feel like it's Monster Blood specific. Safi, what's your number 13?
My number 13 is the Dummy Meets the Mummy. And I think this was the museum.
Yeah.
And there's a museum, and he gets this mummy that's dangerous. And it was given away because the guy, and this just would never happen. The anthropologist gives it away and just lays it on the doorstep of this place.
No, it was Slappy that they gave away.
Well, anyway.
Yeah.
And then you have, and then of course you have Slappy going against the mummy.
If you don't actually remember it, then don't talk about it, because it just makes you look stupid.
Okay, Marco. Thanks a lot. Well, it's my number 13. I'll just end it there.
Why?
Because it just was a ridiculous story. And again, they had a whole class of kids coming there to the museum. And then you have this dummy with the words and saying the words. And then you have the mummy, which is very dangerous. And it puts a whole class in danger.
Okay.
And it's just, I don't know, I just didn't think that was good.
That's not what you thought when we reviewed it. My number 13 is It's Alive, It's Alive. I really could not get into this book. I know that this is like one of the most popular books of the series.
Really?
I just couldn't get into it. I don't even really remember it, except for the terrible ending. You know, it's funny too, because they never said it's alive, it's alive. But there was a perfect moment at the end of the book when the robot comes to life again, and she holds the whole school hostage in the gym or cafeteria. And that would have been the perfect moment for someone to shout, it's alive, and then end the book. And instead, it's stupid. And I hated it. It could have been good, though, I guess, but, I just did not care for it.
Okay, I think we're on number 12. And that, for me, is Slappy in Dreamland. And I remember when we read it, Marco was saying, I think you said that this is kind of like a ripoff of Nightmare on Elm Street.
Kind of.
I could be wrong, but anyway, they hook Slappy up to a machine with monitoring the dreaming, and they see brain waves, which how can that be? And it wasn't that great of a book. I did put it up farther, but like I said, a lot of these books, they're just not good, and you're just saying like, well, how is this one better than the other one? What's about it? What about it makes it better?
Well, it's really disappointing because it just shows how bad Goosebumps has gotten.
Yeah, and I really have trouble remembering some of these. And I have one here with the cover, and I've already asked you about what it is, because I can't read the title, but we're not on that yet, so I'm not going to worry about it. So go ahead.
My number 12 is 5th Grade Zombies. This book started off like it could have been good, but it was basically ripping off Scarecrow Walks at Midnight. The whole story was really stupid of like you have these zombie kids and they turn into zombies because they stood in the cornfield for too long. That's literally the reason why they're zombies. And their solution is to keep these zombie kids in school and to feed them canned meat. And I was like, sorry, but in the real world, you know what they do with these zombie kids? They'd fucking blow their brains out. Because fucking, like, who the fuck would keep alive zombie children? Like, why the hell would you do that? Just because they're children? Like, basically, too, I never thought about this, too, but R.L. Stine was kind of ripping off The Walking Dead. He even references The Walking Dead. And there is a story that's exactly like this in The Walking Dead Season 2, where the whole season you have this, they're on a farm, and in this barn, they're keeping all these zombies in there because they don't want to kill them because they're all zombies of people that they liked and they cared about. And this is literally like the same type of thing. It's so stupid. Like, you have these zombie children, kill them. Like, why are you wasting resources? Like, this school, it just shows how, like, public schools, they suck so badly, like, that they're wasting the budget and the school resources on zombie children. I mean, how do they even do that, too, like, legally? Like, how do they even, like, because they're buying this canned meat, and people are going to be like, what are you buying that for? I don't know. Like, and they have to have a bus for the children, too. Like, it's just, it's really bizarre. it's so bad that the zombie children are even in the room 5Z. You know, as in 5th grade zombies. Like,
Yeah.
that's how stupid it is. And the ending just beats
Lame.
everything.
Very lame.
Where the main kid, he accepts his fate as long as he can join their band, the zombie band. Like, that is just so insultingly bad. F this book. Safi?
Okay, well, that's my number 11 is 5th grade zombies. And, it's an okay story, but then it gets to the end, it's a very lame. And then, there's so many inconsistencies and ridiculous premises with, like we said, the canned meat, and there's a boy involved. He's visiting his family for, I don't know how many months it's supposed to be, but then he's supposed to go back home. But then he was bad because he was too nosy, so they're going to turn him into that too. And he plays a harmonica, and nobody liked a harmonica, so he says, "Well, can I join your band because they have some kind of little country band? If I let you turn me into a zombie?" And he didn't say it like that, but basically, he was okay with it, and because he could play in a band with them. I think that's so dumb. Just made me ill. And anyway, that was my 11. It's just ridiculous. And then for him to lame out, what's this? This was saying. There were so many of these where their families, their kids are suddenly. What this boy's going to suddenly disappear, and he's never going to see his family again. He's never going to get this is Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And he lives in New York City somewhere, one of the boroughs, and is he going to go back there and be a zombie there, or does he have to stay in Wisconsin the rest of his life? How do they tell his parents that? And it's just dumb. So that's to say it's another story. I don't know. It's just ridiculous.
My number 11 is Escape from Shutter Mansion. I was really disappointed in this one because it had a really good concept of it's like about a video game, and there's a haunted mansion in the video game, and this mansion that is down the street is actually like the inspiration for this game. But there's so many questions from this book, and just it's really not good. It's really not as good as it could have been. It's so lame. It's so childish. Like, because the number one question would be, okay, if they modeled this game after the intricate details of this house, and the house is haunted in real life, it'll kill you. It's like a video game, you might not escape. Well, how the hell did people actually go in there to, take videos and pictures to reference for the game? There's just so many things like that in this book of just, nonsense. R.L. Stine isn't using his brain. He's just pumping out these trash books because Scholastic asks him to. And, this one, it really, really was disappointing. Safi?
Okay, my number 10.
Number 10.
Is I Am Slappy's Evil Twin. And you have two dummies. You have a father who makes horror movies. And it's kind of bizarre. One of them has green eyes. That's supposed to be the evil one, I think. And the one has black eyes is supposed to be...
brown. It's brown and olive.
Oh. Well, the one has brown. He's supposed to be the good dummy. And,
oh no!
But then there's
the voice of Salacious B. Crumb died!
Whoever that is. Anyway, the ending is, it's kind of like a Twilight Zone ending, I think. And, where the good one is just pretending to be good all along, and that he's really bad. And so that kind of is I think, like a Twilight Zone ending. So that's why I kind of put it up there. Didn't you say they did something odd with the cover?
Oh yeah, well on the cover, the stupid artist, or I don't know if he knew or not, but he made both dummies' eyes brown. And so basically it's like, they're so stupid they won't even tell the artist, like, hey, one of their eyes are supposed to be green,
and that's
important to the plot because they differentiate the dummies by their eye color.
Right.
Oh no, we can't do that because that's too hard.
That was a little bit shocking.
That's bizarre.
Yeah.
My number 10 is Fright Night.
Yeah.
What?
Well, my number 9 is Fright Night.
This book was bad. It was very lame, very childish and silly. And there's a whole big part at the end that didn't make sense where, this kid had to go through like an hour of juggling to get this monster to the dance. And how did he get the monster back to the other school? Because he stole this monster from another school. And the whole premise of like schools having school monsters, it was very dumb. I will say this though, it is like a fun book. It's very light, and if you could have fun with this book. I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world.
No, not compared to some of the others.
It is still very, very goofy and silly and not what I want. And especially, this was the last book. The last one in the series. And he ended on this joke book where the whole concept is it's really weird. Very unrealistic, too. You have to suspend a lot of disbelief. What's your number 9? Oh, yeah, you already said Fright Night.
My number 9 is the same thing. It's Fright Night.
Why?
Well, it was ridiculous, again, because all these certain schools in the region all have a monster. A certain night of the year, they do something with the monster. They have to tame it and be friends with it, and guy decided to kidnap, like Marco said, the monster from another school and bring it to his school.
Yeah.
And when he went before, there was no such thing. And so it was just a silly, ridiculous, but kind of a fun story. So that was my number 9. So I didn't want to say too much. Marco's already talked about it, basically.
My number 9 is my number 9 is Slappy Beware. This book was really, really long. This was the longest book we read. It was so overly long because it was like the extended edition. And I really like the concept of like Slappy trying to scare this kid, but then the kid just doesn't fall for anything. But the problem is the book starts off in Florida, and like the first half is just this really lame Night of the Living Dummy generic thing, and then they have another origin story, so it's like they're trying to make that other one. I can't remember in which one that was, the original origin story of Slappy, but it was really weird that R.L. Stine just completely disregarded that, and he made a new one, and it's just very unnecessary, and just the book was just not as good as it could have been. Because another thing is, this was supposed to be the anniversary celebratory Goosebumps book, and it just really pissed me off, and pissed Safi off too, that like, yay, more Slappy, like that, as if that's all Goosebumps is Slappy. And it's not, Goosebumps is Haunted Mask, Stay Out of the Basement, fucking Welcome to Dead House, Monster Blood. It is not Slappy. Slappy is just one of the characters. Slappy is not the primary Goosebumps character to basically anyone, except for, like, a couple of people, So, Safi?
Okay, well, I don't know what my number 8 is. I put it there.
Okay, give me the phone.
It's the one right there with the
Night
orange.
Howler.
No, underneath.
Oh, wait. Diary of a Dummy.
Oh, okay. Well, Marco's already talked about this, but
just so you guys know, she has had all these books in the F and D tier thus far. I'm on the C tier.
And I had the same problems with it that Marco did. And about the dumpster diving, because last year, in fact, we even got T-shirts from one of them. There's a guy, well, he actually picks up stuff from the curb. People leave stuff out at the curb, like furniture and games and every kind of thing you can imagine in Pennsylvania. And they have, people in Pennsylvania have lots of stuff. And he didn't act like he really knew about dumpster diving. I also, followed people. They like CVS and all these, they throw perfectly good stuff into the dumpster. Medication and toys and costumes and all these stores, Michael's and all these different, and then they'll get after them if they get in there, or they just let them go. It just depends on what they do. Is they'll donate some of the stuff because it's perfectly good. There's no breaks. They put food in there that's not even expired. I'm not talking about fresh food like yogurt or whatever, but anyway, and Marco brought this up. He had no knowledge of dumpster divers. He made them sound like that they're, I don't know, scuzzballs or something. That just is not true at all. So, but it was an interesting book. It still was kind of a creepy story about the diary, and they misread that they had a very tough life financially, and they thought that they read the word gold and it was in the diary, but it was really referring to a female puppet named Goldie. So they were mistaken, and then it's almost like another Twilight Zone where they fall into this trap at the end and they can't get out. And they made this judgment, but it's kind of like a desperate judgment. So, anyway.
My number 8 is I Am Slappy's Evil Twin. I thought that this book, I'm not sure if this had the original origin, but I thought that this book could have been really, really good. Like, I really loved the concept of Slappy possibly causing havoc on like a movie set when they're making a horror movie, and they even wanted to make like a Slappy movie, like a haunted dummy movie. And I thought, like, this what the hell?
Sorry, I went into Poshmark.
Oh, why are you doing that in the middle of a fucking video?
Sorry.
Yeah, typical. I thought that this whole book, it would take place at the movie set, and that it'd be like Cry of the Cat, at least the episode, but with Slappy. And I thought this could be really, really good. But instead, most of this book takes place at the house, and they have an attic with a little horror movie memorabilia museum, and it's like, this is really lame. It's not the book that it should have been. In fact, the kids aren't even supposed to go to the movie set because they get in trouble, as usual, in a Slappy book. And it's just, I really, it's not the worst, though. I if I was forced to, with a gun to my head, I could read it again.
Yeah. Okay, well, my number 7 is They Call Me the Night Howler. And I'm actually up in the seat here with a few books in there. The thing about this story was childish. It just, and it was okay. It was just childish. I don't know.
This whole series was childish.
I mean, this was really childish about this kid being the night howler, and then they howl before something happens.
And they announce their presence to the bad guy.
Yeah, why would you do that?
There was no functional purpose or use why they had to howl. It was just kind of like, because it's in the title.
It's really a goofy story. I probably should not have ranked this as high as it should have been ranked lower.
A lot
I think
lower.
Marco ranked his a lot lower. My phone is very sensitive, and I was working with this, and there's a couple things here that I might have messed up on. But that was my number 7, though.
My number 7 was Night of the Squawker. This title, I've never heard someone in my entire life use the word squawker. I think a better title. Now, this wouldn't have probably been an appropriate Goosebumps book, but you could have a book called "I Married a Street Squawker." Like that would be hilarious. Like I would really love to see R.L. Stine write that.
I don't
But
think that would work.
this book, it had some fun elements to it where, like, they're making zombie movies or something, and I thought that was fun. I kind of liked the story a little bit. I didn't think it was really a terrible book. It was very forgettable. I mean, I can hardly remember it, except for the filmmaking stuff and yeah. Safi?
Okay, well, my number 6 is Slappy Birthday to You. And, I'm in the C tier now, and I don't know. I had it in my notes, and I put 5 by it, which it means mid-range. And we even have a physical copy of this book. And I don't know, I can't say what it's about. I forgot.
Oh, then that's why you ranked it so low.
But I put it in the mid range. So, but I did have it written down. I put number 5 by it. So
my number 6 is Slappy in Dreamland. I thought that it was a scary concept of Slappy invading your dreams like Freddy Krueger. But the reason why I ranked it this low is because I literally can't even remember it. Basically, like, I can hardly remember anything about it. I do remember, though, that it was enjoyable when we read it, kind of. And it was a good book to start off with, because if we had started off this series with, like, Night of the Squawker or 5th Grade Zombies, we would have been like, maybe let's just not read Slappyworld because it's more like Shitty World. Safi?
okay, I think we're on number 6.
No.
5.
It should be 5. Can you
Okay,
count to 5?
5?
1, 2, 3,
Well,
4,
I just
5.
don't have it like that. All right, my next one, Marco's talked about already, so he had his rank a lot lower, and that's Escape from Shutter Mansion. And I kind of look to it as like a horror book, and it's like a Twilight Zone / horror book, where what these kids are going to go through in this mansion, that they're going to go go through it over and over and over and over again, and they can't get out of it. And it's like something that's happened to them, and it can never be, it doesn't sound like, anyway, according to the book, that it's ever going to be unchanged. So to me, I thought that was effective, and that it's, if you want to look at it as a horror book,
all of these books are supposed to be horror books, Safi.
But they're not. They're ridiculous. They have ridiculous stories that are stupid, and the endings are contradictory, and that's not a horror or any kind of good story. It's a nothing story.
My number 5 is My Friend Slappy. This is fine. It's all about this kid who's kind of like a bully, or he's kind of like a troublemaker, and he actually likes Slappy because Slappy can cause trouble with him and make his bullies' lives a living hell. Yeah, it's okay. I'd never read it again, though, so, I mean, it's just another one where it's like, I'd rather read the good Goosebumps books that were written back in the 90s when, this was actually books that were written for everyone and not books that were just written for, like, 2-year-old children,
Yeah. Well, my number 4 is the same thing. My Friend Slappy. And I'm still in the C tier, but I'm going to be moving up to the B tier, so I don't know what else to say about it. It's like I said, I would never read any of these books again. I don't care how I rank them. And maybe the first one, the number one book, maybe. But I just don't have any interest in them. They're just, for the most part, they're ridiculous, and with the way the relatives, the parents of the children are like, especially that one, the zombie thing with the fifth grade zombies. The kid is not supposed to stay there for the rest of his life. He's supposed to go home to his family. And I just some of this stuff, it's BS. It drives me nuts.
My number 4 is The Dummy Meets the Mummy. I thought that this was a very fun book. The Slappy and the Mummy going back and forth with each other. I might want to read it again, but not really, because I think this is the first book in the series where R.L. Stine is purposefully having Slappy call people his servants instead of slaves, because apparently saying the word slave is offensive to no one, actually, because nobody fucking cares except for the pussy-ass sensitivity readers. And so, like, you know, just the fact that Slappy isn't calling people his potential slaves is, like, a really downgrade. Like, this book could have been, like, number 1 if not for Slappy calling people servants, because, you know, like, FYI, slaves back in the day, like, from any time period, because, you know, black people weren't just the only slaves in the history of the world, FYI as well, they could get called servants, too. You know, like, they weren't just called slaves, you know.
Yeah, but
just like
the thing is with some servants.
Just like with the M word, you know, they didn't just call them the M word, or they didn't just call people one thing, you know, like, it's like, come on. Slappy takes slaves. He doesn't take servants, he takes slaves.
Right.
Fuck off, pussy asses. Okay, Safi.
That's true. I was just going to say, though, that in the traditional sense, well, there were indentured servants, and I don't know about their payment, but usually a servant would be paid. It may not be very much, but there's no payment for a slave, because they're considered property. So anyway, my number 3, and now I'm in the B tier. It's my only B book, and it's Please Do Not Feed the Weirdo. And this is an odd title. And
no, it's not.
The only good thing, or the only weird thing about it is the same old story where the kids do just the opposite of what they're told to do. And they feed this creature, which is a boy. It's not even a creature. It's a regular looking boy.
No, the boy turns into a creature when he's fed.
When he's fed, right.
So
they don't know the ramifications of feeding him. And then, but he also has ability to change into anybody he wants. So it ends up to be a real bad horror story, because the kids one of the kids who feeds him, he ends up getting locked up in the cage, and he's a real person. He not going to change into a beast, so he's never going to get fed. He's going to die in there. So it's a real horror story.
Yeah.
So that's why I put it that high up. I don't think I'd read it again, but you have that is kind of one linking thing with almost all of these, and even back in the other Goosebumps books, is that you have kids who do exactly the opposite of what they're told.
But that's a lie. Like, name a book in the original series where a kid went against their parents. Well, name like a couple, because like right off.
I didn't read all the books.
Name me a random Goosebumps, original Goosebumps. Name one.
Well, how about Stay Out of the Basement?
Okay, Stay Out of the Basement. Obviously, they do defy their parent, but in that one, you know, they're going into the basement because they think there's something wrong. And because they
saved their father's life.
They think that their dad is not really their dad. So in that case, they were doing something good. But name another one. Let's see. Let's test it. Because in the original books, they would not be like this defiant and this kind of like childish. where it's just like, oh, whatever, I'll do what I want. You know, like, name another one.
I don't know.
Just name one, come on.
The Haunted Mask.
Okay, Haunted Mask. She wears the scary outfit instead of the bird costume, but or the duck costume.
Yeah.
But she's not really defying her parents at all.
It's not that big of a deal.
So.
Well, it is, but it isn't.
So there's another example. But in these books, it's like every book.
You know, they just go like do just the opposite, and usually it gets them into such severe trouble they can never get out of it. So that's the problem. So go ahead. It was number 3.
My number 3 is Slappy Birthday to You. I thought, you know what? This was a good kind of introduction into the series of Slappyworld. It was very reminiscent of original series Slappy books, unlike the other ones that feel like more modern, shittier takes. Another thing, the thing that I really am surprised that Safi forgot about, was there's a part in the book that I think might be the best part in the whole series, where the cousins of the main character, they stole Slappy and they put him in the garage, and Slappy turns into like a hero, and he gets these bully cousins in trouble, and he does like this really good deed by doing that, and I just thought that was so cool that like for a little part in the book, Slappy becomes like the hero of the book. He fucks up these bully cousins. Like, see, Safi didn't even remember it.
Yeah.
I could remember. I could read this again, maybe.
Well, we own it, so.
Really?
Yeah, we have a physical copy of it. Okay, well, my number 2 is Revenge of the Invisible Boy. And now we're on the A category or ranking or whatever. And I don't know what to say. This guy, I mean, he makes a mistake, and what you think is Revenge of the Invisible Boy, it's not what you think.
Well, he doesn't get revenge until the very end.
Right. And I thought it was pretty good because it really is a horror. It really is a good horror story, and it's the jokes on him or the jokes on them, his friends. And that's why I thought it was really good. And that's why I put it at 2. And because it really is something, it's different. And about being invisible, they go to this mysterious shop and they get this stuff, this liquid, and you never know what just to think that somebody would drink some strange liquid in a store. But anyway, it's a fun story. I liked it. I thought it was good. What's your 2?
My number 2 is Revenge of the Invisible Boy. What?
That's just funny.
Why?
Do you pick the same thing?
I would say I really enjoyed this book a lot. It was surprisingly good. I thought that it was one of the better books of the series because it was just very enjoyable in the sense that I was very interested in what would happen, because like the main character, he's not a bad kid. The people that he's around, they literally try to kill him. Like they're really terrible people. They deserve to die. And, you're really rooting for this kid to find a way to be visible again and to get revenge on these piece of shit kids who need to, go out into the cornfield and never come back.
Yeah.
So I would say this is a very good book. I would definitely read this again. A lot of memorable things about it. So...
Yeah, I would recommend this book. I mean, there really aren't that many in this series to recommend, but this would be a good one to recommend.
I would recommend it.
Okay, well, my number 1 is Slappy Beware. And I think Marco's not surprised that I chose this. And I know he didn't put this here. He put it down lower. But I liked it because this is a book, and it's kind of funny in a way. This family gets Slappy somehow. I don't remember that part, but all I remember is he would try to be mean or evil or do something bad, and it would never work out. He would fail.
Well, but remember, that was halfway through the book.
Well,
The first half was this generic story about these girls in Florida and with Slappy. Like, so that was only half of the book you're talking about.
I guess the half of the book I liked was them, and just nothing worked, and it was so funny because the people seemed to be oblivious to anything he was doing, and it was kind of like, I don't know if you've ever heard these books about Amelia Bedelia. I think that's what it is, where she was oblivious to herself, and then other people were oblivious of her. It was just hilarious. And it's just funny because, Slappy, he's supposed to be evil and do bad things. And these people are just like, hi, you're just so funny. And, he'd like look at them like they're insane. I just thought that was funny. And so because it's the only time, I haven't read any other Slappy books like for the original series, the original Goosebumps. I just saw the shows, but it's the only time I've ever seen Slappy get, I don't know what the proper word would be, where he's just totally flummoxed or something. I don't know if that's the right word, where he just can't believe that what he did or what he's doing doesn't have any effect on them, and a negative effect of any kind. They just like, who cares? And so I just thought that was funny. Okay, go ahead.
My number one is Please Do Not Feed the Weirdo.
Oh.
I thought that this was a very good idea, and this could have been an original series Goosebumps story. I really thought that it was a great story with the shape-shifting, and you were really, there was a lot of suspense in, like, is this person the person, or is this person the weirdo? And I thought it was very good. It did have some problems with it, but with this series, I'll take what I can get. This is the best out of the trash. It's like I was dumpster diving for a good book, and I'll take what I can find. And I found Please Do Not Feed the Weirdo.
Yeah.
And this is the book, too, where that one kid is eating tortilla chips without any salsa. And I didn't understand why someone would do that. But then last night, I tried Newman's salsa with the tortilla chips, and I did not like it. I thought that it tasted good with enchiladas, but it did not taste good with chips. Mm. And it was very tomatoey and cheap tasting. And I just started eating the chips by themselves. And I was like, oh, I can understand now. Like, because I guess if the ow! Ow! I just hit my foot! Ow! If the salsa is bad, then just eat the chips themselves. That's the only case that it's acceptable. But the salsa wasn't that bad. It just wasn't as good as the other salsas that I've had.
Yeah.
Well,
there's a lot of choice with that anyway. But anyway, so that's it, everybody. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and become one of our subscribers. And we'll be doing another book series. I'm not sure if we've decided what that's going to be.
Well, maybe we just won't do any books this month yet, and then decide for next month or something.
The thing about these books, despite they're not good, most of them being not so good.
They're easy to read, and they're easily accessible and quick. Yeah.
And we, when we're watching other things all along, like we were also watching episodes of The Office, and then there might be a new movie coming out, here and there, and then there's some other things that we're going to do. So, that's why it's helpful to have a book series with books that are easy and accessible to read.
Well,
okay, goodbye, everybody.
Bye.